Hey, folks, welcome back to the Mike Lopez Show here at Stockton University. I'm ACMike, your host. Got a special guest here today, Director of Sports Sales at Meet AC, the Sports Commission guy, I like to call him, Dan Gallagher. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike, thank you so much for having me. Good to see you, man. You look great.
Great to see you too, man. Wish you were in the studio with us, but this is the way we do things now in this world of COVID and a little bit post-COVID and whatnot. Dan, listen, you've been in Atlantic City for some time now. You've had a couple different jobs here. Tell us a little bit, first of all, about Dan Gallagher and how you made it here, sir.
Sure. Well, I've been a sports enthusiast since the day I was born. There's no question about that. I did my undergrad at Villanova. I studied PR and psychology to become a sports agent. And I went to go to law school, took my LSAT, just wasn't in the cards. So I cut my teeth at the Chelsea Hotel, actually, in Atlantic City, where I started off as a server, really, and just kind of worked your way up the ranks. I was a server and a supervisor, then a manager. Then I was a general manager of the nightclub, and I got my first director of sales role there many moons ago. It feels like now. And then when Meet AC privatized from what was ACCBA back in 2014, they brought me back on as the sales manager, and then kind of took off from there. And I can go into how we formulated the sports commission, but that's the down and dirty on Dan Gallagher.
So listen, when you talk about the Chelsea, it's right next door from my home. I
Yep.
appreciate that place. And we probably ran into each other, not even knowing it at the time back in the day. But listen, one of the things you just said there, and this is ones that are going to be part of the interview, though, but there's so many opportunities here in Atlantic City. And we are here at Stockton University with our interns. Tell some of the folks about some of that, because like you said, you started serving tables, but you kept the pedal going. Talk on that a little bit, that inspiration.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was very fortunate enough to have some great, incredible mentors in my life, and I never asked any of my employees to do something I've never done, and I always felt very confident in doing that. I've scrubbed toilets, I've done it all, and part of that is experience and learning things that you wouldn't have without boots on the ground and being in the fire. But you aspire to be that person that's sitting at the table, the executive, the guy that's wearing the suit. And when you're on the other side of the table, and you're the one serving, then that's what you have to look forward to, and that's why you work so hard. And part of that is treating everyone the same way that you should be treated, whether they're the server or the CEO, and that's something that I wear near and dear to my heart, and I try and do the same thing in my professional career now. But it's all about experience, it's all about learning and being at the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, and at any given moment, your career path can change. And it's all about how you're ready to be able to react and move with that.
That's great when you say that. It's kind of networking. I mean, don't want to be networking when you're serving that steak or whatnot, but it's there. It's happening. It's always here. And the place that we live and we call home and where we work and whatnot, Atlantic City, it all comes here. I mean, literally, it all comes here in one form or another.
No, yeah, absolutely. My mother was a harpist in the casinos for 27 years. She played Bally's Brunch for 22 years, I believe. And I remember when she said, I need to leave home early to beat the traffic to get into work. And that was before the tunnel and everything like that. But that was a heyday on Atlantic City. And I grew up in a very Atlantic City bullish family. And my biggest reward in doing what I do is seeing the hotels, the casinos, the restaurants out here in Galloway Township packed to the gills with patronage from some of the sporting events that me and my team have been able to bring to Atlantic City. So I'm Atlantic City through and through. And it's so great to see it kind of rebounding and diversifying our portfolio and not just being gaming centric, but how we can grow with that. And Atlantic City's done a great job with that. So, growing up in a house where your mother left for work to go into the casinos at 5 o'clock at night to play the harp, it's something that runs deep for sure.
That's pretty awesome. It sounds like another show we're going to talk about.
Sure.
So listen, Dan, you touched on it a little bit about what the commission does. Tell folks exactly what the Atlantic City Sports Commission is and what your function is here in the city.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Great question. So I think a lot of people misinterpret what the Atlantic City Sports Commission does and what Meet AC does. My mom asked me to this day, Dad, I don't know what you do. And I'll break it down kind of simple. So in 2014, Meet AC privatized what was ACCBA. And in 2015, we formulated the Atlantic City Sports Commission. Meet AC is a 501c6. The Atlantic City Sports Commission is a 501c3. We function the exact same way. We work with the same board, same PR, marketing as Meet AC. Although instead of bringing conventions trade shows and conferences to Atlantic City, we bring tournaments, competitions, and sports-related conferences to Atlantic City. So we could talk about some of the big ones you see around here today, but we were just really cheer and dance when it first started. And I think that's kind of where we hung our hat. And we still do a ton of cheer and dance events to this day. Our first quarter is actually our busiest. But going back to diversifying our portfolio, we wanted to do something that would change the landscape of our sports market here in Atlantic City. So we wanted to not just focus on cheer and dance, while that was our backbone. And we've been very fortunate enough to land events on all different segments of everything from local, regional, collegiate, professional, international events that have really kind of created a full comprehensive understanding of what the Sports Commission attracts.
And to your point, some of the most unique experiences, that's one of the things that brought me here to Atlantic City when I moved full-time in 2006, was all the events, whether it's in Boardwalk Hall, the convention center, on the boardwalk, on the beach. But you guys and gals out there took it to another level. I mean, I've seen everything from pole vaulting out there on the beach to the midget race cars just recently at Boardwalk Hall. And that's something that I'm involved to. It's going to be coming up probably when this show airs. Rising Star Promotions with Vinny Lamanna and Thomas Lamanna putting some on Boardwalk Hall. You bring a diversified package of events. Touch on some of the events. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I know you're a bright guy.
No, not at all. I appreciate that. You said one of my favorite ones is Vertical Adventures Beach Pole Vaulting. When we first formulated the Sports Commission, right, I thought there were 5 main sports, right? Your basketball, soccer, football. That's all we thought. There's a sport for everything. And as I attend these conferences and travel around the country, you realize that there's everything from tiddlywinks up to the U.S. Games. And you're looking at these new games. Cornhole. Who thought cornhole would be in contention for an Olympic game? Spike ball, a game that you play on the beach. So, and they all do the same thing, right? They drive economic impact to our region, which is what we care about, right? Heads in bed, the feet on the streets, people eating and dining in our local restaurants, gambling in our casinos. But Vertical Adventures, by far, I call it dating. I date some of these clients. And I dated him for 6 years until he finally moved from Seaside to come to Atlantic City and come here. He's been here for 3 years now. Great friend of mine, Mike Lopez with Vertical Adventures. But yeah, we had to change what we did. And in Atlantic City, the best part about Atlantic City is our topography, right? Our free beaches, our historic boardwalk, 146-acre Bader Field. We don't have those conventional sports complexes that a lot of major tier 1 cities do. So what do we rely on? We rely on our topography, our beaches, our boardwalks, to be able to host a lot of these events. So the Rock and Roll Half Marathon will be coming up here in May. That is a huge deal. You'll see everyone dressed up in their Van Halen and their Axl Rose gear, running down the boardwalk, listening to music. We landed futsal. That's actually next week. Our regionals have 400 teams from the region coming into the convention center to compete for indoor soccer, right? So that's a big deal. Coming up in May, we're hosting the U.S. Wrestling Regionals. These are some wrestlers that you'll see at the Olympics coming up in the next couple of years. If you would have asked me that in 2015 when we created the Sports Commission, I don't think our aspirations were that high. And to be where we are today as a full team comprehensively, and the branding behind it, we've been afforded to land some of the coolest events, in my opinion, in the country.
Listen, you're doing a great job. I love it, Dan. We're going to have you back on the show and talk to somebody. And as some of these events go into action, it's one of the greatest places to live. I love it. Listen, we have our problems, but what place doesn't? But the one thing we have is what you spoke about 2-3 times, that beach, that boardwalk, and using all that beautiful Bader Field. Folks, we've been talking to Dan Gallagher. Dan, real quick, you got about 30 seconds. Give us an Atlantic City story. Remember, PG, so go ahead. One of your favorites.
It's an easy one for me. I'm a diehard Cowboys fan. Don't kill me. We just hosted the Jimmy Johnson Quest for the Ring last July. They'll be back this July. Getting to meet my hero, Jimmy Johnson, professionally in a personal atmosphere was something that I'll never get to do again. So there it is. What?
As an Eagle fan and someone who bleeds green, I was at that press conference over
there
at Hard Rock, and it was a great time. And I got to ask a couple of questions, and I was in the audience, and not the audience. I was at the concrete jungle when the snowballs went flying over to his head, and he actually answered the question, and he was fun with it. So that's so cool. Dan, I appreciate you coming, man. Be talking to you real soon and be seeing you on the 48, man.
Mike, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
You got it. Folks, will be back.